and welcome to the Unsolicited Film Reviews podcast. If you're listening to us, thank you, but we have a brand new YouTube feed out. So if you're watching us, welcome and thank you, and you're welcome for our beautiful faces. I'm Zach Miller, and joining me as always is Martin Cook.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you.
So let's just dive right into it. The Oscar nominees came out today for the 2025 ceremony. That's going to probably happen sometime in March, barring any new natural disasters in our beloved California. So, just we're going to do a full preview and rundown. If you've been a long time listener, you know that we're going to do predictions and all that good stuff. But just because the nominees came out today, anything major stand out to you?
Well, I mean, the major thing that stands out are the 13 nominations for Amelia Perez. And so I guess I'm just going to be the designated Amelia Perez hater now because that just seems a bit absurd to me. As I mentioned in our last podcast, I didn't particularly care for the film. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think the music was all that good. But there's a few other things in there, like Jacques Audiard, the director, getting a directing nomination over like Denis Villeneuve and other people
Mm.
like that. That seems a bit absurd. But my big question also is, why is Zoe Saldana in the Best Supporting Actress category and Carla Sofia Gascon is in the Best Actress category? Was this just some sort of like category manipulation so they could get as many nominations as possible? Because clearly Zoe Saldana is the main actress in this movie. It's her story. It that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I can't speak to it because I haven't seen it yet, but there's been 9 nominations for Best Picture, and I've only seen 4 so far. So yeah, I'll catch up as they come out because some of them that will. I'm Still Here isn't even out yet, so nobody's seen that unless you're got an advance copy.
Yeah, that's another one. Like, how did that? Is anyone who is not in the industry seen this movie yet? Probably not. So
Mm.
that seems to me like that's a bit of a, agency strong arming tactic to get nominations because that seems a little bizarre. I'm disappointed that September 5 didn't get a Best Picture nomination. I think that was one of my favorite ones that I've seen so far. Although it did get one for Best Original Screenplay. That's nice. And then I'm glad that Nosferatu got a bunch of the nominations for like the kind of physical and technical aspects of filmmaking, the cinematography, production design, costumes, all that stuff, because it definitely deserves those. So I'm happy about that. And then my only other thought would be that I'm kind of surprised that a Complete Unknown got 8 nominations. That seems like a lot. Like it was a good movie. I didn't think it was amazing. But I'm very glad that Edward Norton and Monica Barbaro got nominations because I thought they were both quite good.
Yeah, Complete Unknown makes total sense to me though because Hollywood just loves biopics of their,
Sure.
the 60s, 70s rock heroes. And if
Yeah,
you make one, no matter how bad it is, it's likely going to get nominated for something.
yeah. And everybody likes Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, but
No? Oh,
no, I'm not a Bob Dylan fan.
really? Wow.
I respect the artist, but I cannot stand the sound of his voice.
Okay, okay.
Never could. Just so, you know. Art is subjective.
Yes, absolutely.
So I was glad that Challengers got shut out. I know a lot of people are up in arms about that, but that's my little bit of Schadenfreude for
Yeah,
this
yeah. A lot
Oscar
of people
season.
are particularly upset that the score didn't get nominated. The Trent
Whew.
Reznor Atticus Ross score.
Yeah, that was a slog to get through, and I had high expectations for that one too. I thought it was going to be a real like an erotic sports drama, which you don't see that often, and it just turned out to be so tame and watered down. It was that was a huge disappointment for me. So I'm glad that they did get shut out. And another thing is, people talk about the end of the world a lot, global warming, nuclear holocaust, stuff like that. But I think we're all going to wind up drowning in a river of Ariana Grande's tears.
That's quite possible. Well, I did think she was the best part of Wicked, so if she wins, I wouldn't be too upset.
I was more impressed with Cynthia Erivo, and she also got nominated. But
Yes.
yeah, they were both great, and But God, the press tour of them just crying every time they talked about their movie. And then Ariana posted today that she hasn't stopped crying since she heard about the like her tear ducts have been through a workout this these past few months. And it's just ridiculous. Like, yeah, I get that you put a lot into this project. It was your dream role and it's all coming to fruition. So, kudos to her, but come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, no real surprises. I thought Nosferatu was going to creep in and maybe snag one of those Best Picture noms, but as I said in our last podcast, I think it was probably Robert Eggers's worst film. But that's not a diss to him because all four of his films have been really, really good. So
Yeah, that's grading on a scale for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hosted by Conan O'Brien. The ceremony is, and he hasn't done it before, so it's not Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Yeah, and set for March 2nd. So, as you say, if there aren't any more delays, because these nominations were obviously delayed, then yeah, everyone look for we'll do a preview podcast where we do predictions and also what we would pick, as we have done the last couple of years. So look for
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
sometime before March 2nd.
But overall, I just think this year is a pretty weak field,
Agreed. Yeah. No, very weak feel.
especially if you go back to last year where you have the heavy hitters like Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Barbie, like all 10 movies were at least worth watching. Zone of Interest, American
Yeah.
Fiction,
Yeah.
just a very, very, very strong field. And this one, it's I from the ones that I have seen so far, I just have not been that impressed with any of them.
Agreed. Yeah. I think they're all very flawed movies, all these ones.
So, well, I guess we'll look past that for the time being and get into the stuff that we are excited about coming in 2025 in the film division. We're going to do a TV version of this in our next podcast. So, Martin, your first one is.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, just we're going to highlight five that we each are looking forward to of films that are supposed to be coming out in 2025. Now, again, this is always subject to change. Sometimes schedules get moved around and studios push things, but these are expected to come out in 2025. So we're each going to highlight five that we're interested in seeing for some reason or another. And then we might just mention a few others that happen to be coming out as well. So my first one is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey coming out May 9th. And the tagline for it right now is an imaginative tale of two strangers and the unbelievable journey that connects them. That really says absolutely nothing. So that's not why I'm interested in it.
That's not a good log line for those of
Yeah,
you in
it's
the
a
business.
terrible, it's a terrible log line. It stars now this is starting to get into why I'm interested in it. It stars Margot Robbie, Colin Farrell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, among others. It's directed by a guy named Kogonada, who has two feature film credits under his. I'm not familiar with him. He directed something called Columbus in 2017 and After Yang in 2021, and he's done some episodes of Pachinko. But most importantly, I think this is Margot Robbie's first movie since Barbie.
Hmm.
And if you think about that, she basically had the pick of anything in Hollywood, and she chose this. So consider me interested. Like I really wonder why. So that's why this is one of my five.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And Colin Farrell coming. Obviously, he made this well before the Penguin came out, but he's on a roll as well. So
Yeah, and he doesn't have to sit there for 6 hours of makeup every day. So it'd be interesting to actually see his face act again.
yeah, so the plot is basically secondary to the all-star cast that they've been able to assemble. So yeah,
Exactly.
looking forward to that one as well. So my first one, and it's coming out the 30th, I believe, is Dogman. And I didn't know what to make of this the first time I saw the trailer because it's bizarre. It's an animated movie where a man's head, okay, it's a dog head on a man's body. and he solves crimes, and that's that's basically it. So I was like, okay, I'm here for it. It sounds original, even though it is based on a pre-existing IP on a graphic novel by Dev Pilkey. He also did Captain Underpants, and
Oh, okay.
my niece is a huge fan of that, so I've seen quite a few of those.
Yeah, the
And
artwork does have that kind of vibe to it, so that makes a lot of sense.
it has the voice talents of Pete Davidson and Lil Ray Howery, and both of those are really talented dudes. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. And Ricky Gervais is in it too, in a kind of a small role, but yeah, Dogman looks like a fun romp for the whole family.
Yeah, the only thing that I've read about it, it's basically a movie where a dog or a dog man is the hero and they're chasing a cat, which is a supervillain. That sounds perfect.
Mm,
I'm a dog person more than a cat person. That sounds like a perfectly reasonable plot to me.
the age-old story. What's your next one?
All right, so my next one, this is sort of going chalk here, but I'm going with Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, May 23rd. Like the gang's all back. We got Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Haley Atwell, who was in the last one, Vanessa Kirby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Christopher McQuarrie is directing again. He's done the last three of these, starting with Rogue Nation. And he's essentially Tom Cruise's movie partner now. Like he wrote Top Gun Maverick, didn't direct it, but he's yeah, they basically do everything together now. And essentially, I've just never not had a good time with these movies. And this is the last one supposedly that they're gonna do.
Mm.
So yeah, not much more to say. I just think it's gonna be fun and they'll go out with a bang.
Yeah, Tom Cruise sure sprints a lot in that trailer.
He does the classic Tom Cruise run. They had to get that in there if this is him doing it one last time.
And yeah, he did it a lot. I've seen the trailer three or four times in theaters now, and the last time I saw it, I was counting like, okay, that's one sprinting scene, two sprint. I got up to four sprinting sscenes in like a 2.5 minute trailer. So he's gonna be running a lot.
Yeah, the trailer looks good though.
Mhm.
I think it looks pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm somehow I fell a few movies behind in this series, but I'm definitely going to catch up because, as you said, they are just entertaining, great popcorn movies.
Exactly.
And Tom Cruise is one of the last people that can actually draw a crowd based on his name alone. Not
Yeah,
to
maybe the
mention,
only one these days.
yeah, maybe DiCaprio, maybe Pitt, but other than that, they're like the last three movie stars, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the thing is, he's the only actor that looks cool while running. It's very hard to look cool while running, and he's really tapped into that. I know he knows that that's a fact. So it is very hard to just go into an all-out sprint and look badass while you're doing it. And what is he? He's in his 60s now, right?
At least late 50s. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't
So
remember exactly. Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that he still has that juice, there might be something to this Scientology thing.
Yeah, the dude basically hasn't aged much at all.
So my next one, speaking of movie stars, is F1 starring Brad Pitt, which will be one of the most expensive films ever made at a budget of about $300 million, dollars, and that's not taking into account advertising yet. So,
That's crazy.
and F1, obviously, it takes us into the world of Formula One, and Brad Pitt plays an aging driver that is trying to win the world championship one last time. And they actually filmed it in the F1 arenas with the actual drivers. So that's probably why it costs so much because you have to pay the other drivers and you have to pay for the teams and the cars and all that stuff. And F1's like the most expensive sport in the world by far. So
Yeah, and
it,
you got to shut down a lot of city streets, and
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Plus they got delayed by COVID for a significant period of time, so they had to jump in and out. And obviously, they had to do this while the F1 season was going on, so they couldn't just cater the filming schedule to that. So, yeah, this turned into kind of a bloated mess during production. But I've become an F1 fan in the past 2 or 3 years, so I'm looking forward to see how this actually turns out.
Well, it's huge around the world, really. F1 is, so I'm sure this will be a movie that does really well overseas as well. This is just pure summer popcorn fare. I'm sure it'll make its money back if it's even half decent. I noticed it's directed by Joseph Kosinski, who is the guy who directed Top Gun Maverick. So I guess this is his Days of Thunder. Uh, like following up Top Gun with a car racing movie. Um, but yeah, it's like a pretty stacked cast of people. Aside from Brad Pitt, you got Javier Bardem, Tobias Menzies, Simone Ashley, who's just gorgeous from Sex Education and Bridgerton. Carrie Condon, who I first knew from Rome, the series HBO
Right, right.
TV series Rome. She's in it. Just yeah, a great cast.
Yeah, and Lewis Hamilton, seven-time world
Right.
champion.
Yeah, the
So
actual racers. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. My next film is an untitled film. It's an untitled Paul Thomas Anderson film that's slated to come out August 8th. Now, the original title apparently was The Battle of Bacton Cross. But apparently that's now being changed, but it's as yet untitled. It's said to be an adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's novel Vineland. I don't know this novel, but Thomas Pynchon novels are generally like really long and difficult and famously kind of impossible to film.
That
So
sounds right up PTA's alley.
it really does. It really does. But it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, Wood Harris, who's famously played Avon Barksdale from The Wire, Regina Hall. Like, look, I haven't loved everything that P.T. Anderson has done, but when he's on, the guy's incredible, and he's
Hmm.
one of the most thoughtful filmmakers of the last 30 years. So I'm just very interested in seeing what this is going to be all about.
Yeah, so far this year's already shaping up to be better than this past year because we have movie stars and famous directors galore and all linking up and making exciting projects. So, yeah, I'm excited. And I missed out on Licorice Pizza somehow, which is
Oh, okay.
Paul Thomas Anderson's last movie, and I've seen the rest of his filmography. I don't know, it just somehow passed me by. And I thought the last one I saw before that was Phantom Thread. I thought it was a brilliant film, even though it was very
Yeah,
kind of niche. But like you said, thoughtful. Thoughtful is a great adjective for him.
yeah. That was Daniel Day-Lewis's last film, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And
All right,
so we'll let you
what's
know
your next
what
one?
let you know when it has a title, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So this next one is one I just saw a trailer for a couple days ago, and I had no idea it was even in the works. It's called Warfare, and written from it's written by an actual American Iraq war veteran, Ray Mendoza. I wanted to get his name right, and Alex Garland, who has been a fantastic director. I wasn't a big fan of his last one, Civil War, but I loved Ex Machina and Annihilation. I just thought the premise of Civil War was a little weak, but the action and especially the sound design on that one was absolutely incredible. The concussive power of the bombs and bullets going off, and this is happening in an Iraqi war zone, so this is right up his alley, which made me very excited to see it, especially since it's from somebody that had their boots on the ground.
Yeah, the last half an hour, I think I appreciated Civil War more than a lot of people, but that last half hour of Civil War with the close up fighting, that was really well done, really well shot. And so, as you say, yeah, what he can bring that kind of experience to an actual Iraq War conflict movie should be very interesting. This one stars Joseph Quinn, who played Eddie Munson in in the Stranger Things show, the last season. And also, I didn't even realize at the time when I was watching it, he was one of the emperors in Gladiator 2.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and it also stars our good buddy. Cosmo Jarvis from Shogun.
Yeah.
So he
Anjin.
was probably my least favorite part of Shogun. So we'll see if he can redeem himself in this movie, in my eyes.
The Anjin.
Yes, the
And
Anji.
also as Michael Gandolfini, son of the late James Gandolfini, and
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
was really impressed with the way he played his father's character in The Many Saints of Newark. And it's always it's always confusing when I try to explain that movie to people. It's like, no, it's not Tony Soprano's son. It's not AJ. It's Michael Gandolfini, James Gandolfini's son playing his
Thank you.
character.
Yeah,
So yeah, but yeah, so I'm excited to see him kind of branch out and spread his acting wings because I thought he did a really good job with a very tough situation playing Tony Soprano as a young man. So
absolutely. All right, my next one is Michael, slated for to come out on October 3rd. This is a biopic about Michael Jackson, and apparently follows his career from his time as a kid in the Jackson 5 all the way up until the final weeks of his life. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua, who started his career directing R&B music videos. So
oh,
interesting.
okay, I didn't know that.
It stars Jafar Jackson, who's actually Michael Jackson's nephew, as Michael Jackson, and Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson, which I think is a
Hmm.
really interesting casting choice. Now, apparently, the screenplay does include references to some of the child sex abuse allegations. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays all that stuff, especially with his nephew playing the role as Michael. So I'm just very curious about how complex this is going to be, because he's got a very complicated legacy, one of the most incredible musicians of the last half century, and yet all this other stuff clouding over him. So if they play it right, that could make for a very fascinating biopic. So I'm just interesting to see how they play it. I hope they don't play it too safe. I'm a little worried that with that casting choice that they might, but we'll see.
Yeah, I had the exact same concern since they announced this project over 2 years ago. And I've always been a proponent of separating the art from the artist and kind of trying to compartmentalize my, I guess the most famous example right off the top of my head would be like Chinatown's one of my favorite movies, but Roman Polanski's a convicted child rapist. So, you know,
Yeah,
if you don't want to watch any of those movies, then I completely get it, but you're also missing out on some great art.
yeah,
And the same thing kind of applies to Michael Jackson. While he was never convicted, there's a lot of smoke.
a lot of smoke. Yeah,
And when I saw that Jafar Jackson was cast as his uncle, that's the kind of definition of nepotism because nepo means cousin. I mean, nepo means nephew, but uh, but I've never seen any of his work. I've never. I don't. Is he a musician?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Yeah, so I have no idea. And it is tough subject matter, and I really hope that they don't play it safe. Like, I don't want to see like an explicit, child rape scene or
No,
anything
no,
like
of course
that. But
not.
uh I
But
just
but yeah, but you want them to deal with it and not just gloss over it.
yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I'm not optimistic that they're going to do that for the reasons you already stated, but it'll be an interesting watch for sure. So my next one is Death of a Unicorn, which I hadn't heard of until about a week ago. And I was just thrilled watching this trailer because it seemed like such an original premise. And I was like, yes, thank you. Just give us something that we haven't seen yet. And it's billed as a dark fantasy comedy horror film. Sign me up.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great.
And it has Jenna Ortega, who's one of the top young stars of the industry today, and Paul Rudd, who's always good in everything he does. And it's about a family that hits what they think is a deer. It turns out to be a unicorn, and the mommy unicorn comes back for revenge. So, and it has Richard E. Grant in it. He's always fantastic, and it seems like a pretty campy movie. So that's perfect for him because the more he can camp it up, the more he can just chew scenery, the better, in my opinion. Taya Leone, Will Poulter, just top to bottom, fantastic cast. I'm here for Death of a Unicorn.
I agree. I saw a preview a couple of weeks ago as well before some movie. I can't remember which one, and was very intrigued as well when I saw it. It's directed by Alex Sharfman, and I don't know anything about Alex Sharfman. I looked him up on IMDb. It's the first feature film, so taking a bit of a chance. But I'm also really glad to see Jenna Ortega spreading her wings a little bit away from the Wednesday Beetlejuice type thing, because I think she is a very talented actress, and so it's nice to see her do something a little bit different.
It's kind of her still taking baby steps though, because it
It
is in
is,
the
yeah,
horror comedy genre.
it
It's
is.
but I mean, by all means, spread your wings, but don't be pushed out of the nest right
Right,
away.
right, yeah, yeah. She doesn't need to go do like a period drama or anything right away to spread her wings that much. Just keep trying to push your comfort zone a little bit.
Sure.
All right, my last one is Zootopia 2, slated to come out on November 26th. It's got two of the three writers and directors as the first one, Zootopia from 2016, Jared Bush and Byron Howard, who also did Encanto together.
Hmm.
And Bush was one of the writers of Moana. So, their animated film bona fides are about as good as you can get short of Pete Docter, really.
Hmm.
Um, it brings back Jason Bateman and Jennifer Goodwin as Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps, the fox and rabbit team from the first one. And they're joined by Kei Hui Kwan, among other voice actors. And look, I do, there's not too much to say about it. I just thought Zootopia was one of the best films of 2016, full stop. Like, not
Hmm.
just animated films. It's almost certainly in my top three of like Pixar Disney animated films of all time, probably along with like Up and Wally. I really, I might be higher on Zootopia than a lot of people were, but I just thought it was fantastic. And so I can't wait for the second one, especially knowing that it's the same like writers and directors and stuff.
Yeah, a little anecdote. I don't know if you remember this, but we were still in school together when this came out. And the day after you saw it, you came into class and you're like, I think this is one of the best movies on race relations ever to be made. And
I do believe that.
yeah, you're not wrong. It still holds up 9 years later. So yeah, I was incredibly stoked on Zootopia when I saw it too because you saw it before me, and I was like, okay, man, if Martin's this hyped on an animated movie because I'm a bit more of a animated guy than you are, I think. So especially when it comes to Disney, like I'm a Disney file, as
Yeah.
if you've listened for a while. So yeah, I'm obviously here for Zootopia too. I'm stoked that the writing team's coming back and all the cast. So how are they going to elevate our culture to the next level?
I don't know. I don't know.
How is
How are they going to
Zootopia?
top They're going to need another sort of rewatchable scene like the sloth scene
Oh man.
in the DMV. I don't know how they're going to top that one.
Yeah. So yeah, headline for next year: Disney fixes racism. So my last one is the sequel to the Oscar nominated for Best Picture and to Best Actress and Best Supporting Acted, Wicked for Good. It's not Wicked 2, which is weird, but so it's not even a proper sequel though. It's just the second half to the musical. So it's just going to be everybody's coming back. It's just a continuation because nobody wants to sit through 5 hours of Wicked in one. Well, actually, I'm sure there are a lot of people that would want to sit through 5 hours of Wicked, to be honest. So let me retract that. But me personally, I didn't want to sit through 5 hours a week. The first one was 2.5 hours. This one's probably going to be of a
No.
similar length.
Yeah.
So it's just a continuation. And actually, for my money, it's the best film of the Best Picture nominees that I've seen, which.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Ugh.
we'll have to see where we rank them when we get to
Yeah.
our pre-Oscar pod. But wow. Okay.
So there's not much to say about it. All the songs are gonna be good because everybody else is returning. So,
Sounds interesting. Yeah, it should be good. And for those of us, I don't know if you knew the story beforehand. I didn't know anything. And
mm.
so I'm curious to know what happens next. I mean, obviously, we know this is a bit of a prequel to what am I?
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. For some reason, I had Alice in Wonderland in my head. That is not the movie at all. Wizard of Oz, clearly.
That'd
It's a
be a big twist.
yeah, that would be a big twist.
Definite departure from the source material.
For sure. But how they get there is going to be interesting. So
Mm. So that's it for the five, well, the 10 cumulative, but the five ones a piece that we were most excited for and that we wanted to touch on the most. But obviously, a lot more movies coming out this year. Uh, One is 28 Years Later, which is the third one in the Danny Boyle trilogy. I would.
screenplay by Alex Garland.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Alex Garland's gonna have a busy year.
He is very busy these days. Yeah, and
I,
yeah,
I, I like the
that was
first
supposed
two.
to be
I'm
coming
here.
out June 20th, I think.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I like the first two, so I'm here for this third one.
Yep.
As
Yeah,
far as
people sort of say that it changed the way zombie movies are shot in a way. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do now 28 years later. Although has it been 28 years since the first one? Anyway, maybe not quite, but yeah, that one will be interesting. There's a movie coming out fairly soon on March 7th called Mickey 17. It's Bong Joon-ho's first movie since Parasite.
wow,
And
okay.
it's got Robert Pattinson. So I think it's going to be an English language one. It's got Robert Pattinson, Tony Collette, Mark Ruffalo in it. So
Well,
that
yeah, I don't see all those people speaking Korean.
no,
That's dedication if they are.
that would be very, I mean, Robert Pattinson does get into his roles, but yeah, maybe not that much.
And then we have James Gunn's Superman kicking off the new era of the DCU.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how much fatigue there is. James Gunn does some interesting stuff though. The preview looks pretty exciting. People are excited about the trailer that came out. Yeah, that'll be interesting. There's a bunch of superhero movies this year, so it'll see that one obviously will stand out a little bit more. But there's a Captain America movie coming out
Yeah, I was just let me just say that
February.
I am more excited about the future of DC than I am about Marvel because yeah, I was just
Yeah,
gonna get into Captain America as well. So continue, please.
yeah, and then there's a Thunderbolts movie coming out in May. That one actually looks like it could be interesting. There's a Fantastic Four movie coming out, which I don't know that anybody really wanted, but
Well, I think they're gonna keep doing that one until they get it right.
yeah, I guess.
This will be
Well,
their
yeah, the last one was pretty horrible. So
and so was the one before, and then they did one in the '80s before the whole Kevin Feige era took over. So yeah,
yeah, and then we got DreamWorks hopping on the hey, why don't we just make live action versions of our popular animated things? That'll make some money, right? With How to Train Your Dragon coming out on June 13th.
and we also have Disney doing Disney and making live action remakes of Snow White, Lilo and Stitch, and Moana all in the same year.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Disney's still leading the field for that one. And then yeah, just a bunch of other totally random sequels coming out. There's a new Tron movie coming out, Tron Ares in October. There's Now You See Me 3 coming out in November. Those movies are fun enough. I'm always a fan of heist movies, so there's Nobody 2. I don't know if you ever saw Nobody with Bob Odenkirk, but Bob Odenkirk's
Oh
kind
yes, I did.
uh,
It's such a inane title that
it really is.
I keep
Yeah.
forgetting that I saw it and actually kind of liked it. But
Yeah. Yeah. So that's coming out too. So obviously a whole bunch of sequels as well.
yeah, I think one of the sequels I'm kind of excited for is actually Paddington in Peru because those films have been some of the best CGI animated films to come out in the last 20 years. So
Yeah. Two more I just want to note. Um, One is Black Bag, which comes out March 14th. It's Steven Soderbergh one, and it's Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender as kind of a married spy couple. So I guess doing sort of the Mr. and Mr. Smith thing, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing. But
hey, it's 2025. We can have a Mr. and Mr.
yeah, they could. But with Steven Soderbergh, it could be interesting. And then the other one is now this one I'm a little wary of, but they're doing a remake of The Running Man. Uh,
Mm.
I really was disappointed in the remake of Total Recall, mainly for the reason that they didn't put it in fucking bars. Like I don't understand what that was all about.
I know one of the best quotes of that movie was "Get your ass to Mars,"
Yeah. So,
and
so
that
I'm a
was
little
completely
wary of
central to the
a
plot. Yeah.
of a redo of that kind of movie. But the thing that might be interesting is that this one's directed by Edgar Wright. So
Yeah, that bumps up my positivity
yeah,
definitely for that one. Edgar Wright doesn't really miss, so
no, no,
it'll be interesting to see his take on something like that because despite it being an 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, it dealt with some pretty heavy subject matter.
it really did.
So,
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, it was. I love that movie.
yeah,
That's
me too. Me too.
I love
It's one of my favorite Arnold movies for sure.
for sure, for sure. Oh, and then sorry, one more. Ryan Coogler's got a movie coming out as well. Actually, I mean, we could do this forever, but Ryan Coogler's got a new movie coming out. It's called Sinners, coming out
Oh, right, right, right.
um, with Michael B. Jordan again, of course. And I think he plays two characters in this
Yeah,
one.
it's starring Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, yeah, and Haley Steinfeld as well. And I think you can't quite tell from the trailers, but it seems like it's going to be sort of a Southern vampire movie.
Yeah, yeah. I like when there's twists in the trailers
Yeah,
because when the trailer came on, I was like, okay, a Ryan Coogler film, Michael B. Jordan, typical, and
yeah,
then it looked like it took place in either Prohibition, like Dust Bowl kind of scenario,
yeah,
and
Jim Crow South type thing, maybe. Yeah,
then all of a sudden vampires. I was like, whoa, okay,
yeah,
I wasn't expecting that from Ryan Coogler, and he's a fantastic director. I loved all his films,
he
so
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
The vampire genre is obviously a bit tired, but with Nosferatu and this coming out, then it might have a rejuvenation.
yeah, if they yeah, as long as they're a little original, why not?
Yeah, like you said, we could go on for another hour or so talk about everything coming up, but then we'd be out of material to talk about for the rest of the year. So, so those are the ones that needed highlighting right now, and we're going to wrap this one up and come back to you with a TV version of what we're looking forward to for the rest of 2025. Until then, thank you for listening. And for those of you tuning in for the very first time, thank you for watching us on YouTube. Like and subscribe, do all that good shit. You've heard it a million times, but do it for us. And if you haven't already subscribed to our Spotify feed, what the hell are you doing? Get on that.
And yeah, and then those of you who have been listening to us on Spotify, now you know you've got the ugly mugs to put to the voices. So it's great.
You're not that ugly. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. I'm Zach Miller.
I'm Martin Cook.
Peace out.